The morning after the kiss, I woke up with a single horrifying realization. I was in trouble. The soft morning light filtered through the sheer curtains of the guest room, his guest room, in his ridiculously luxurious penthouse casting golden streaks across the rumpled sheets. My mouth still tasted like last night's champagne and something darker, something that made my stomach clench when I remembered the way Alex's hands had gripped my waist, pulling me against him like he'd been waiting years for that moment. This wasn't just trouble. This was catastrophic, not the kind of trouble that could be fixed with a strongly worded email or a well-timed business merger, though God knows I'd tried that approach before. No, this was the kind of trouble that settled deep in your bones, the kind that rewired your nervous system so that every glance, every accidental brush of his fingers against yours sent electric currents racing down your spine. The kind of trouble that made your pulse stutter every time you walked into the room, all sharp cheekbones and lazy arrogance, like he owned the air you breathed. And the worst part, Alex Kensington knew it. I found him in the sunlit breakfast room, the floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Manhattan skyline like a postcard. He sat at the marble-topped island, looking unfairly put together in a crisp white shirt, the first 2 buttons undone like he'd dressed in a hurry or like he wanted to remind me of the way my fingers had fumbled with those same buttons last night. His sleeves were rolled up just enough to reveal the corded strength of his forearms, and the sight sent an unwelcome flashback through me, those arms pinning me against the balcony railing, his mouth hot on my neck as the city lights blurred below us. He didn't even glance up from his newspaper as I entered, but the corner of his mouth twitched, that infuriating, knowing twitch as if he could sense my turmoil from across the room. "Sleep well?" he asked, voice dripping with faux innocence. I strode to the espresso machine, my bare feet silent on the heated floors. Of course his penthouse had heated floors. The machine hissed as I pulled a shot, the bitter aroma doing nothing to clear the haze of last night from my mind. Like a baby, I lied, pouring the coffee with deliberate calm. He finally looked up, those sharp hazel eyes locking onto mine with terrifying precision. Liar. The word was a challenge, a dare. I could see the amusement in his gaze, the self-satisfaction of a man who knew exactly what he'd done to me. My grip tightened on the porcelain cup. "We should talk about last night," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Should we?" He set the paper down, leaning back in his chair with the ease of a man who'd already won. "Because from where I'm sitting, there's nothing to discuss. You kissed me. I kissed you back. It was inevitable." "Inevitable?" I nearly spluttered. "Of course." He smirked, the sunlight catching the faint scar above his eyebrow, a remnant of some long-ago fight he'd never explained. "You've been itching to get your hands on me since the moment we met." I nearly choked on my coffee. "In your dreams, Kensington?" "In yours, apparently," he shot back, his grin widening as my cheeks burned. I wanted to strangle him. I wanted to kiss him again. God, that was the problem. I didn't even know what I wanted anymore. But Alex, damn him, seemed to have it all figured out. He stood in one fluid motion, closing the distance between us in 2 easy strides. His fingers brushed a loose strand of hair behind my ear, his touch feather-light, but enough to send a shiver down my spine. The scent of his cologne spice and something woodsy wrapped around me, pulling me back into the memory of his body pressed against mine. "Here's the thing, Jasmine," he murmured, his voice so low it vibrated through me. "Our parents set this up because they knew what we've both been too stubborn to admit." I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. "And what's that?" His thumb traced my jawline, slow and deliberate, that we're perfect for each other. I should have laughed, should have rolled my eyes and walked away. But the worst part, he was right. Somewhere between the boardroom arguments and the late-night negotiations, between the stolen glances across gala ballrooms and the whispered debates over whiskey, the lines had blurred. And now, standing there with his breath warm against my skin, the city humming below us like a living thing, I couldn't remember why I ever fought this in the first place. So I did the only thing I could. I grabbed the front of his shirt and kissed him again hard, desperate like I was trying to prove something. And this time, there was no pretending it meant nothing. His hands slid into my hair, tilting my head back as he deepened the kiss, and somewhere in the back of my mind, I registered the sound of the coffee cup hitting the floor, shattering. But neither of us stopped to pick up the pieces. 5 years later, the world still referred to our union as the merger of the century. The press had a field day when Alexander Kensington III and Jasmine Laurent finally announced their engagement, not in a boardroom, not through a carefully crafted press release, but on the front page of the Times with a candid shot of Alex dipping me backward in a kiss at the very same Swiss Alps estate where it all began. The headline read, "Billionaire rivals seal the deal, and we don't mean the business kind." Our wedding was, predictably, an obscene display of wealth and power. My mother cried actual diamonds, or at least that's what the tabloids claimed. His father gave a toast so heavily laced with corporate innuendos that half the guests thought they were at a shareholder meeting. And at some point during the reception, Alex pulled me into a secluded alcove, his hands sliding possessively up the silk of my dress as he murmured, "Tell me again how much you hate me." I bit his lower lip instead. Marriage didn't soften us. If anything, it made us worse. We merged our companies but kept our separate offices, mostly because, as Alex put it, if we shared a workspace, we'd never get anything done. He wasn't wrong. The one time we tried, the desk didn't survive. We fought over everything: investment strategies, vacation homes, whose turn it was to pick the wine for dinner. But the fights always ended the same way, with his hands in my hair, my nails down his back, and a muttered, "Truce?" against my lips that was anything but surrender. And then, 3 years in, the universe delivered its ultimate plot twist, a daughter. Sophie Kensington Laurent entered the world with her father's smirk and, according to Alex, my complete disregard for reasonable bedtimes. She was chaos in a tiny designer onesie, the only person on earth who could reduce both of us to putty with a single giggle. Alex, the man who once negotiated a billion-dollar deal before breakfast, now spent his evenings building pillow forts and pretending to lose at tea parties. "Look at us," he said one night, watching me rock a half-asleep Sophie in the nursery of our Manhattan penthouse. "We've gone soft," I smirked. "Speak for yourself. I still have a company to run." He wrapped his arms around me from behind, his lips brushing my ear. Lucky company," I elbowed him. He laughed. And just like that, I was back in the Alps, arguing across a table, kissing him to shut him up, falling for him against my better judgment. Some things never changed, and I wouldn't have it any other way.